I'm Angel Castellanos for the Tour Guide, and today I'm giving you the formula of how to have fun in Milan and spin on the balls of the bull. It's often said for the amount of churches there are in Rome, there are as many banks in Milan. I'm right here in the capital of industry, in the fashion capital of all of Italy, and many people tend to skip over this city or simply use it as a transportation hub. But this city has been important since Roman times, and today I'm giving you the formula of how to have fun right here in Milan.
Milan is located in the region of Lombardia, north of Tuscany and Emilia-Romagna. There are two major international airports close to Milan. Malpensa is where most international flights from the USA fly into. It's further out from the city center, but can easily be connected to by Uber, taxi, or train. Each journey takes about 55 minutes. Trains depart from Milano Centrale twice an hour, and tickets typically cost about 13 euros. Linate Airport is closer to the city center and a much smaller airport. If you have a layover in Europe, I would recommend this airport as it's closer to the city center and much easier to connect to. It typically costs 20 to 30 euros to transit to this airport by Uber or taxi, and it's only a 25-minute drive. Even though Milan is one of the biggest cities in Italy, it's easy to get around. Taxis are plentiful and transportation apps definitely work here. There's an underground metro and even historic trams that were first used in 1876. Some of the main historic sites are located just blocks from one another in the historic core of the city. Be sure to stick around because we'll cover those at the end of the episode. If you want to cover lots of ground and see more, I recommend that you stay as close to the city center as possible to save time. We created the perfect route and plan to get you from A to Z. Check out the blog for more great information on how to maximize your time and increase your fun right here in Milan. Before we get started with our day, hook me up with a like and subscribe so we can keep bringing you great content.
So Via Monte Napoleone is one of the famous shopping streets. So on this street you can see Dolce & Gabbana, Fendi, Louis Vuitton is right here on the corner. So all the major luxury Italian brands are going to be on the street for sure. Just because Milan is a busy city doesn't mean cafe culture doesn't exist. I'm about to have breakfast in a cafe started by one of Napoleon's soldiers in the 19th century. It's a pretty historic place. People like Garibaldi, Verdi would have coffee here, and I'm gonna have a cappuccino and a cornetto, a little pastry to start off the morning. Let's do this. Just a traditional Italian breakfast, cappuccino, no fancy foam arts, no cats on the foam, no shamrocks, nothing like that. It's just a straight up milk foam, coffee, and a cornetto crema. You could certainly sit down and have a table inside, but I'm gonna take my breakfast here al banco, which means at the counter. It's slightly cheaper. Cappuccinos inside are about €7, and this is a much cheaper way of having your breakfast. Italians don't do big breakfasts, right? There's no ham and eggs here. We're just gonna have a little pastry and a cappuccino. All right. The thing about Verdi is his name also stood as an acronym. Vittorio Emanuele Re d'Italia. Interessante. Interessante.
I'm making my way this morning to Piazza Santa Maria delle Grazie for an appointment I have in this unassuming church. It houses one of the greatest works of the whole Renaissance by none other than Leonardo da Vinci, who lived in Milan for 17 years. Tickets to the Last Supper are extremely hard to come by and must be booked well in advance. Do not show up without a ticket. Each ticket corresponds with a specific entrance time, and all travelers must bring a government ID in order to claim their ticket. To make things easy, join one of our tours and you get the bonus of a passionate guide. Check out the links in the description below. So once you have your ticket, you'll follow your tour group through that door and you'll make your way to that Dominican dining hall where Leonardo painted this incredible fresco. And one thing that I didn't realize is how truly large the fresco is and how much detail you can actually see with your very eyes. Trust me, even though it's only 15 minutes, seeing one of the greatest masterpieces of the Renaissance in person is like nothing else. No image or copy compares to the real thing. In the simple Dominican dining hall, you're face to face with the genius of Leonardo. I'm now gonna explore the rest of the city because I started my tour rather early. I had an appointment at 8:45. It's now about just after 9 and now I'm ready to go. This incredible triumphal arch here on the backside of the Sforza Castle may remind you of the Arc de Triomphe in Paris. And if it does, you're absolutely correct because this was built in the early 19th century to sort of honor the incoming Napoleon. And those horses that you see up at the very top were supposedly facing France at one point. But once everyone realized Napoleon was a megalomaniac, they turned the horses around. It's an absolutely free sight to see right here in Milan. Things like this sort of encapsulate Milan for me. So you have the 19th century triumphal arch here, but on the other side, you have this metal tower called the Branca Tower. And you can actually go up to the very top to get a bird's eye view of this whole area. The 108-meter tall Branca Tower was built in 1933 and offers sweeping views of the whole city. An elevator races you up the 355 feet to the top observatory. The enormous Sforza Castle, which you see behind me, was built in the late 1300s to defend the city wall and the city gates. In 1450, it was beefed up by the Duke of Sforza and later became a Renaissance palace with the very famous house guest of Leonardo da Vinci. You can definitely go inside of the courtyard for absolutely free and check it out, or visit one of the many museums. But it's definitely one of the top things that you should see in Milan because it's quite shocking to see a castle right in the middle of the fashion capital of Italy. One of the interesting things about this castle is that it became a garrison for whichever army invaded Milan. So at one point, you had the French army in here, the Spanish army, the Austrians. So in a way, it became a symbol of foreign domination of this particular area of what is now Italy. The historic Sforza Castle is covered in our Milan tours. If you love history as much as we do, check out our tours in the description below. This area of Isola is so different from the rest of Milan. I love coming here to hang out, enjoy a little bit of green space, but also give my eyes a visual feast of all of this very interesting architecture that surrounds this park that I'm in. And the highlight is this vertical garden building that you see behind me. The vertical garden, or Bosco Verticale, is one of the world's most iconic skyscrapers. The changing seasons transform its green architectural composition. It features over 15,000 plants and 90 different species of trees, making it the most renowned symbol of green urban development and urban forestry in the world. So it's time for lunch, and one of my favorite places to enjoy classic Milanese food is Antica Osteria Cavallini. It is in a beautiful setting here in this garden. It's shaded, it's quiet, and you usually don't find a lot of tourists here. I heard about this restaurant from a friend, and I'm gonna enjoy some classic dishes like risotto and a Milanese cotoletta. So I'm looking forward to this. Oh yeah, that's where you've been. Perfetto. Grazie. Try a little bit of this risotto here.
And I mean, the color is just, I hope this translates to the on-camera experience, because it is like this beautiful golden color, and I can already smell the saffron. You know, it is so incredibly creamy, and it's hard to believe that there is no cream in this dish. I had to share with Josh behind the camera, so that's why you see 2 sets of forks, because it was that good. This is the main event for my meal, which is the cotolletto di vitello alla milanese, and it is a thinly sliced piece of veal that's been pounded and lightly fried in this super, I mean, can you hear that? How like crispy that is gonna be, but more importantly, it's served bone in, and you need that bone in order to keep the moistness into the meat. Oh yeah. So I'm headed to the Pinacoteca Brera, which houses Italian masters here in Milan from the 12th century to the 20th century. So it's the premier art gallery of the city. It is attached to a university housed in a former palace. I'm gonna check out some incredible works of art for very, very cheap. And this is just, you know, because I love art and I don't wanna miss the opportunity to see, you know, Caravaggio and Titian and Tintoretto and all the old school world masters. As soon as you walk into the courtyard of the Palazzo Brera, you're immediately greeted by this gargantuan statue of Napoleon by Canova. And this place was originally established in the early 19th century to house the looted art by Napoleon. So it's kind of fitting that there's still a statue of him here.
The picture gallery is located upstairs above one of Italy's most prestigious art schools. All of the heavy hitters are present, like Titian, Rubens, Tintoretto, the Bellini brothers, and the emotional and brutal Lamentation over the Dead Christ by Mantegna. If you love art as much as I do, then consider our Skip the Line tours with one of our passionate guides. Check out the link in the description below. In the center of Milan, 3 of the main sites that you undoubtedly can't miss are pretty much next to each other. I've saved the best for last, and now we'll head to the city center to visit the Duomo, Galleria Vittorio Emanuele, and La Scala Opera House.
One of the top things to do here in Milan is to definitely check out the cathedral, otherwise known as the Duomo.
In 1386, Gian Galeazzo Visconti, the future Duke of Milan, commissioned the cathedral. Little did he know that this church would become the biggest in Italy and still holds that title till this day. Inside, it's a cavernous 12,000 square feet of marble supported by 52 pillars. One highlight is the sculpture of St. Bartholomew, who is shown here skinned alive, holding his flayed skin. After spending quiet time inside, it's finally time to head to the roof. To get up close to one of the 135 spires or one of the 3,500 statues, head to the rooftop of the cathedral. It's a popular site, so make sure you have your ticket ahead of time, and it's definitely covered on our Milan Duomo tours. I've been to a lot of churches in my life, and there are very few major cathedrals where you can freely walk and hang out right on the roof.
So at the end of the 19th century, when Italy unified under the Risorgimento, the Galleria Vittorio Emanuele was built as a celebration to that unification, and it's the first building of its kind in Italy. There are incredible mosaics inside, a glass dome, and an absolutely important tradition that you have to take part in. So let's do this. So as you walk in to the Galleria, you're instantly transported to the romanticism of the 19th century. So you have 4 beautiful arcades, or 2 long arcades that crisscross right in the center underneath a glass dome, which we're walking towards. One of the traditions that you have to do inside the Galleria is to spin on the balls of this particular bull in order for you to have good luck and maybe return back to Milan. So just the way you would throw a coin into the fountain of the Trevi, you would spin on these. Anti-orario, so counterclockwise. So here we go, I'm gonna make my little wish. Done. While there's excellent shopping all over Milan, this is really the epicenter of historical shopping because you have luxury brands like Prada, Gucci, Fendi, Dior in here. But what I like to come in here for is to have a drink. You might have heard of Aperol Spritz, but here in Milan, the rage is Campari Seltz. And this particular cafe, Camparino, right across from the cathedral in the Galleria, is where this famous cocktail of Milan was born. And trust me, there is no better place to have it in the city than Camparino. I made it inside of the world-famous La Scala Opera House, and your ticket to the museum grants you access to have a glimpse of the inside of the Opera House without having to see a performance. Definitely recommend that you buy a ticket for a performance, but the first step is to check out the museum and get a peek inside at the stage. I've been to every major opera house in Europe, and I have to tell you, this is the cream of the crop, not only because major historical operas debuted here and the amount of talent that has come through these doors, but the opera itself, the opera house itself feels like an absolute palace. It's very luxurious and just dripping with luxury.
Canals have existed in Milan since the 12th century. Leonardo da Vinci devised a complex system of city-wide canals in the 15th century. Today, this area is considered one of the most beautiful residential areas of the whole city. Many bars, cafes, restaurants, and art galleries line the canals, making it a popular area and a perfect place for us to end our day in Milan.
If you're looking for something incredibly unique to do in Milan, come to Navili and come to Rita's Tiki Room. This place is tiki-tastic. The guys are wearing Hawaiian shirts. They serve all sorts of different tiki-inspired drinks, and you just would never believe that you're actually in Italy, let alone such a place like Milan that has a reputation for being snobby and pretentious. Let's try this. Let's go for it. Getting the South Pacific vibes. Liking it. Refreshing. Well, I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I've had an excellent time here in Milan. And one of the secrets to my formula is to stay in the city center. So I stayed within walking distance of the main sites, like the Duomo, like the Galleria, like the Opera House, which I loved touring. And then I mixed it up a little bit, enjoying some of the green spaces, modern architecture, and going up to the Branca Tower. There's even an art gallery that has old world masters that I totally enjoyed called the Pinacoteca Brera. I'm Angel Castellanos for the tour guide. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and ring that bell so you can find our next video. I'm gonna end my trip with another spin on the bull.